Fancy Nancy. Oh, she's very fancy. This is my room before I made it fancy. Looks like she has a lot of fancy things, but it's pretty organized. Oh my goodness. Look at that room. She really knows how to decorate. I love being fancy. My favorite color is fuchsia. That's a fancy way of saying purple. I like to write my name with a pen that has a plume. That's a fancy way of saying feather. And I can't wait to learn French because everything in French sounds fancy. Nobody in my family is fancy at all. They never even ask for sprinkles. There's a lot they don't understand. Lace-trimmed socks do help me to play soccer better. Sandwiches definitely taste better when you stick in frilly toothpicks. A princess is supposed to keep her tiara on. Look, her little sister doesn't want to wear that. Nancy's actually taping the crown to her little sister's head. What's a fancy girl to do? I ask my doll Maribel. Her full name is Maribel Lavinia Chandelier. Then I get an idea that is stupendous. That's a fancy word for great. Maybe I can teach my family how to be fancy. I make an ad and stick it on the fridge. It says, learn to be fancy with lessons from Nancy. Start today. Easy, fun, free. Soon there is a knock on my door. My family saw the ad and they want to get started right away. Okay, so Nancy's teaching them. These are plain things. These are fancy ways of yellow, you say gold. Instead of saying leather, oh, patent leather. Instead of glasses, sunglasses. And then she shows this is a plain doll, this is a fancy doll. For shoes, plain, fancy. Hats, plain, fancy. And this is fancy stuff. Wow, Nancy really knows how to teach about being fancy. The trouble is my family doesn't own any fancy clothes. That's okay. I go find, what is that fancy word? Oh yes, some accessories. Ooh la la, my family is posh. That's a fancy word for fancy. My mom twirls in front of the mirror. Why don't we go somewhere fancy tonight? How about dinner at the King's Crown? Dad suggests. Wow, my parents are acting fancier already. May I escort you lovely ladies outside? The limousine is waiting. My dad is our chauffeur. That's a fancy word for driver. Wow, they all look very fancy. Oh my goodness. Look at them. When we arrive at the King's Crown, everyone looks up. They probably think we're movie stars. I am so proud of my whole family. They eat with their pinkies up and call each other darling. The little sister says, darling. And they're having pizza and, I don't know, maybe soda? I can't tell. For dessert, let's have parfaits, my mom says. That's French for ice cream sundaes. Amazing! My mother knows French. When our parfaits are ready, I curtsy and say, merci. Oh, do you notice anything that isn't quite right in this picture? Look. What do you think might happen? What happens to you if your shoes are untied? I carry the tray like a fancy waiter. Oops! Oh, she steps on it. I trip. I slip. The tray does a double flip. I don't feel fancy anymore. I want to go home. Oh, what a mess. After I get all cleaned up, I put on my dressing gown. Those are fancy words for bathrobe. I feel much better. I'm ready for a parfait. I tell my parents, thank you for being fancy tonight. I love you, my dad says. I love you, my mom says. And all I say back is, I love you, because there isn't a fancy or a better way of saying that. The end.